Hey everybody, today we're going to be talking about one of my most favorite games lately, Stellaris, a game that I never thought I would actually give a positive review to, and yet here I am giving a positive review to just that game. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with my videos, if I look down a lot, it's because I can kind of tend to be introspective and things like that. It won't be full screen the entire time. Most people do kind of use these as long-winded one-take podcasts or things like that, so if you just want to listen along and go like that, that's fine. If you're annoyed by me saying that, you know what, that's fine too. But we're going to be talking about Stellaris throughout this video because a lot of you guys have been annoyed that some of my videos have been about drama or negative about games and things like that. So some of you guys might want a take on a game that I actually rate highly. Now, I'm not saying the game's perfect, and I will point out it's very, very many flaws, but Stellaris has kind of earned a special place in my heart because it's just doing something that you don't really get anywhere else ever. There's just no game like it on the market right now. Now, this game is 8 years old and it is starting to show its age, but despite that, its dev team continues to move on and on. The first dev team quit, the second dev team quit, the third dev team, you'll never believe this, quit. The fourth dev team, I think we're on the fourth dev team, really seem to actually know what they're doing with the game. And let's talk about this game for a second. I currently have 542 hours in it, so I'm kind of a newbie by Paradox standards, and yet I'm really liking the game. Obviously, I own every DLC, and I have played very many Paradox games. I played 3,152 hours into EU4. I enjoyed this game. I hosted a multiplayer server for it for many years. I ran a mod for it, a multiplayer balance mod, and I think I played this game better than anyone ever. In fact, I would call myself the best EU4 multiplayer player of all time. I own every DLC except the last one because, well, I think I kind of got my fill. On Crusader Kings 2, I'm not going to show you, but you'll be shocked to learn 400 hours every DLC. Crusader Kings 3, 463 hours. Every DLC except the last one because I'm kind of losing the faith on that one. Even my favorite game, Imperator Rome, we have 941 hours in, and you'll be shocked, but I do own every DLC here. For those of you wondering, yes, I have high hopes for your EU5. I think that it being made on the bones of the Imperator Rome engine are really good. I think everything about it looks really good. Some of you guys have been asking for more EU5 videos. If this video gets to 2,000 views, screw it. We'll talk more about EU5 because I don't know, there's at least some audience for Paradox games here, okay? So, I think Johan has one more in him, and I think EU5 is going to be really good. And by the way, if you understood anything I said about Imperator Rome, EU5, Johan, the bones of the game engine, anything like that, if you understood anything about that, then it's too late for you. You've already become either a Nazi or a femboy, so just give up. You're done. I've also put a lot of time into Hearts of Iron 4, as you might imagine. 363 hours. It's not my favorite game. I've played a lot of mods for it. Old World Blues, the My Little Pony mod, surprisingly fun. Put a lot of time into it. But let's talk about Stellaris because that's what we came here to do, right? Now, for those of you wondering, I have ramped the UI up to 1.5x. I don't normally play on it like this, but I did a take of this video where I didn't have the UI in 1.5x, and I assure you, it was not very readable for your average person. So what is Stellaris? Stellaris, I have to turn this down because the music does get a pretty jam in here. Stellaris is a game about playing in space, a randomized game in space. It's played real time with pause of you and your space empire in a randomized galaxy with randomized other aliens around you with a race that you've completely customized by yourself. How much can you customize your races? A lot, actually, like a lot. And I'll get into that because that's this game's primary benefit. There's no other game like Stellaris on the market right now, and that's really its primary benefit. The downside of the game is obviously a game that has 4 dev teams continues to have a lot of flaws as the different dev teams continue to put in different implements into the game that don't quite mesh with each other. Is something I would say if they hadn't actually been doing a lot of work making sure all the different content does actually mesh with each other. While the UI is not great and it's its worst aspect, I'll get into that in a second, I assure you. While the UI is not great, the team, I can't remember what they call it. There's something team. Someone in the comments going to tell me they have 2 teams working on the game, and the second team literally just trails the first team and cleans up the game, cleans up bugs, cleans up multiplayer desyncs. They don't always do a good job at that or a good job at all. Big complaint there. They clean up a lot of the old traits, origins, plantoids, necroids. They clean up synergy and things like that. And they make sure the game continues to make sense and follow with each other even after 8 years of development. And in all honesty, that they do a better job of that than in any game I've ever seen. So it's kind of mind-blowing. And as I continue to go through this game, I assure you, you will also probably have your mind blown how so many of these different systems can continue to interact with each other in a way that doesn't kind of break the game. So before I even show you Stellaris, let's talk about customizing Stellaris. What can you do to customize in Stellaris? Well, you can do quite a lot. And these are all the different factions I have made. This one I tried just tonight. I put a few hours into it. Couldn't quite get it to work. I tried a Fear in the Dark, Genesis Guides, Free Haven, Xenophile Pacifist build. I was trying to just do a, uplift every alien, make a giant federation, be a super good guy. It's kind of underpowered. It's like really underpowered. The numbers aren't quite there. I get what the devs were trying to go for, but it's not quite there. I tried it anyway. Here's probably my most favorite faction that if you've been watching me stream this game, I've been trying to play a lot of multiplayer in this game. This is what I've been doing lately. This is it's mostly based on the origin, the Cybernetic Creed. This is a Cybernetic Creed faction, which I'll explain this all later, but I'm trying to hype you guys up by talking about this. It's an exalted priesthood, meritocracy, oligarchy, cybernetics faction with xenophobe, fanatic spiritualists, natural engineers, traditional, unruly, rapid breeders. Incredible, right? This is not really a roleplay build, as you might imagine. You can make a roleplay build, but I'm just trying to say this is a build that I've done with an emphasis on multiplayer, knocking through all my ascension trees, still managing to keep up in engineering so we can have big battleships with big guns, and it's pretty cool there. Here, I'm going to talk about this is my Necroid species. Oh god, these guys are so cool. So what we have here is these are they're not called necroids, they're called necrophage. I always confuse the two. Necrophage. So these guys can only reproduce by implanting themselves into another species. You start with a species already in that you want the other species to breed and then be implanted into, because these guys don't grow very quickly. They grow with a negative 75% penalty, but you can turn other species into them. So I have created my prepotent species. I called these guys my little dobbies, okay? What did I name them? The Molarnox. Oh god, it's just so perfect. So the Molarnox are the dumbest, idiotic, just brutally stupid people you've ever met in your life. But they're rapid breeders and they're very strong. And the Molarnox reproduce and slowly get turned into the necrophage. It's cool. It's work. The necrophage in return are intelligent, quick learners, talented. They make the best rulers, because in a necrophage empire only the necrophage can rule. So let's go back over here. What exactly are you allowed to customize? Okay, and this is what this game does absolutely best. Okay, even when you look at this from a competitive standpoint, even if you were to do PvP and look at top builds, I think the newest team has been the most interesting. Now, maybe there are 2, maybe 3 builds that are just Giga S tier and need to be banned. But, there's always going to kind of be games like that, right? Like, at the end of the day, there's, you can only do so much. And in my opinion, I actually think that they've done a good job in making sure there's a lot of A, B, and C tier factions that are maybe not, they're all perfectly balanced with each other. But, it's kind of like a fighting game, right? You show up in the top 8. And while there might be differences in power level, most people, if they play a good fighter, they play a good faction well enough, can still compete. So let's talk about this. First up is your appearance. Now I have all the DLC. You guys can pay $10 a month for the expansion pass if you want. I'll get into that later. But let's see. If we do a create new here, you can see here we've got humanoids. We've got all the different humanoids. Obviously, some of these are drawn. Here's our little dobbies, the Molarnox I use for necrophage. Don't they just look so perfectly pathetic? Like, it's a totally subservient. Oh man. So we got space orcs, space dwarves, cyclops. You can do anything. You got machines, which are a different thing, mind you. They're not just machine portraits. They have a different thing, which I'll get into later. You got mammalians, reptilians, avians, arthropods, molluscoids, fungoids, plantoids, lithoids, necroids, aquatic, toxoids, cybernetic, synthetic. Like, you got a lot of different choices here. Now, some of these portraits are obviously made, maybe a little bit better than others. Some of these new portraits in particular look very, well, I'm going to say bad. Some of them look very funny. Sometimes they don't exactly hit. Like when they did lethoids, the rock people, which are also their own thing, by the way. I'll get into that later too. So when you do lethoids, you might sometimes struggle to find something that you find cool. Some people find that really cool. Some people find that cool. Some people like the rock dragons, right? Me, I kind of just go with these guys. So, you know what? I need to talk about my race with these guys real quick before I even go any further. These guys, kind of a failed experiment, didn't exactly work how I wanted it to, but it did work pretty good. These guys, okay, I assure you, we don't always go fanatic xenophobe. It's just pretty good at multiplayer, okay? I haven't quite figured out how to do pacifist or xenophile in multiplayer. People do it. It's just a bit tougher to do when everyone's trying to murder you, okay? So these people are sovereign guardianships. They like defending their worlds. They get big debuffs if they expand too much, but they can defend their worlds better than anyone. Meritocracy, once again, because it's just pretty good, gives me better specialist pops. When I level up my leaders, I can take more traits. You know, good stuff. They're lethoids. They're rock people. What do rock people do? They can basically settle any planet, and their leaders live forever. But they just grow very slowly. So what did I do with my lethoids? Well, I put it into an origin called Overtuned. With the Overtuned origin, you get special access to traits, which maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but I get access to special Overtuned traits. Overtuned traits make your leaders live for less time, meaning they die quicker, which is a big deal, because if your leaders die, then your high-level characters die, and then I'll get into what leaders are later, just I assure you, them dying off much quicker is bad, but lethoids, remember, they get plus 50 leader lifespan. So even though I'm taking elevated synapses for a negative 30 penalty and augmented intelligence for another negative 10 penalty, even though I'm taking both these huge negative debuffs, I'm getting plus 30% research out of these dudes. My leader upkeep is lower. And my leaders get -1 negative trait allowed to roll on them. So this build right here can get giga leaders at the cost of the pop growth and of lethoids. So you get the idea here. You're trying to make these builds, and there's a lot of them, and they're pretty cool. And this new team has done a pretty good job in making a lot of cool stuff. And you can just roll full random if you want, by the way. If you want a challenge, you can just go full random. So you got your appearance, you got your species names. Now you can call here. Let me just make a race with you guys here. Let's I don't know, make a dwarf race, and you can customize your leader, by the way. So I'm gonna call them the I don't even know, the Dorkins. And what's a war? No, there'll be a singular one will be called a Dorkin, and then it'll be a Dorkins is what you call it. And then if they start a war, it'll be the Dorkin War. So you can choose, are all your leaders going to be male or female or intermediate? It defaults to intermediate, but should you prefer, you can have an all-female race, or well, at the very least that all your leaders are female, or you can have it where all your leaders are male. You can do that if that's on you. You can write yourself a little biography. Dwarves are much cooler than you'd think. Dorkin is just what came to mind first. Don't put me in the book. Okay, so our race is the Dorkins, okay? So we got a name list. Now, this is what your characters in the game would be called. Now, you can choose through any of these different lists here. So if I want to, let me see. Can I try a mammalian one? Let me see here. Sen, scion of Urug, called son of Akir, Mig, scion of Urug, Fura, daughter of Mig. It's kind of like an orky list. We could also kind of try to use it for dwarves. These ones are a bit more complicated. Sar, Bixkarok, Jadalat, Sakir. So we could try to go for these two. You can, you know, it's going to randomly generate names off this list. So we got humanoid. Maybe we try Pashna Takun, Sashna Takun, Pashna Ilbin. So maybe we go with that. That kind of sounds dwarfy, right? Now we got our traits. Now, depending, are you plantoid? Are you lethoid? Are you robotic? You can have different traits show up all the time. Now, most of these traits will be generic and available to every faction, barring if you're a robot or not. But lethoids can get unique ones. Plantoids can get some unique ones. I think necroids maybe have some unique ones. Aquatic can get some unique ones, stuff like that. So you have your typical kind of games like this. So as many of you guys who know these sorts of games, you're imagining there's going to be some traits that are good, some traits that are bad. Obviously, you're going to min-max. That's somewhat true. Yes, I agree. it's also somewhat untrue. There are some traits in certain builds that work really well. I'm not saying they've done a perfect job, but they've done a decent job ensuring that most of these traits will be good. So you can see here, we can take Venerable for plus 80 liter lifespan, which is a pretty good trait, as you can imagine, but at 4 points, not really going to be taken. Enduring for plus 20 years lifespan, a lot more affordable. Is it good? Is it bad? Well, it's going to depend on your build. To depend on your point allowance. We've got some unique ones here. Whenever you're in a war or a crisis, you get negative 30% pop growth. Pretty big penalty and can screw you over pretty hard in the right situation. But with negative 2 points on this one, it might be an interesting thing. But what you might see here, you can't take psychic infertility and slow breeders. They kind of figured that one out. You also can't take invasive species or budding because you're not, as you guessed it, a plantoid or a fungoid. So, there are some interesting things there. You can take, you can see this is a pretty big list. We can take adaptive for more habitability. Rapid breeders is a pretty typical good trait. Most builds that are trying to be competitive will take rapid breeders. It's not as required as it used to be in the past. It used to be like 100% required to your inting. Not as required, but still a really good trait. Now, you might be wondering, why were my cybernetic creed people taking engineering? Well, cybernetic creed is trying to be like an AdMech, an Adeptus Mechanicus meme build. Not entirely, but they're going for that kind of thing. It's a little bit of an open-ended origin. You can roleplay it any way you want. The big thing, though, is they make a lot of engineering research and a lot of Unity because they're spiritual technologists, right? And so you take the Unity on them, which you would basically never take in a build, and you take the engineering on them, and you can end up with a pretty solid build. And that right there is exactly what this game allows you to do. Even if your build ends up being like a C tier or even a B tier build, do you care? Probably not. In fact, most of you guys who watch this video could take a D tier build or even an F tier build and you won't really notice the difference. And that's the true beauty of this game. You can choose builds that are overpowered. If you really want, you can choose builds that are very top tier. You can choose builds that are bad. And if you're just playing single player, you just adjust the difficulty of the AI to what you're dealing with, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. If you want to play a race that's absolutely terrible and makes no sense, then you just make the AI one click easier and away you go. You adjust the game to yourself, and I'll show you the game is pretty adjustable. But you can see we can do some pretty interesting things. If I did a lethoid, perhaps with adaptive, that would be plus 60 habitability. My lethoids would be able to go onto any planet in the entire game, colonize it, and potentially offset their low growth penalty by just being on so many worlds, growing on so many worlds. So you're thinking like, in fact, slow breeders here, which is something that most people would agree is a never take. You would never take slow breeders, even for negative 2 points. You're just inting your build to death. You're running it down, right? But if you go necrophage, suddenly you realize the necrophage isn't going, the other pops are growing. So necrophage with slow breeder actually starts to become an option. Or potentially, there's many builds actually that could take slow breeders these days. So it's about coming up with clever solutions. And we'll get onto that later here. Do you want to do a build based on getting good leaders? You could take talented, quick learners. And if you're a lethoid, talented, quick learners, lethoid. So now your leaders have less upkeeps. You can have more of them and they get more experience. And you're a lethoid, so they live really long. Or if you're a necrophage, your leaders live really long because they're basically giga vampires. And you get the idea here. You're already trying to think of things. You got your homeworld. You come up with a name for it. Let's call it Velutaria Prime, and I don't know, we'll make it an arid world. We go to a city appearance. What do we want our appearance to look like? Probably reptilian. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I've never looked at reptilian. Well, I mean, they're clearly not reptilian, but we're not a rock, we're not a necroid, we're not a machine, we're not cybernetic. What would you make a dwarf world? Probably humanoid looks about right for them. But I got something better here. You see, the subterranean origin for our dwarf people. The subterranean origin is interesting. It's maybe not the best. I don't think a lot of the top builds use it, but there are some interesting builds that use subterranean. While it could maybe be buffed, and a lot of you guys don't care about balance, you just think, oh my god, subterranean, that's so cool. And that's really how, this game is. But I'm trying to explain that not every build in this game needs to be mega top tier. Some of them are just fun, but the devs do seem to at least attempt to make things viable, even if they don't always hit the mark. What does Subterranean do? You can have unlimited mining districts. You're allowed to mine as much as you want forever. Your species also now gets the permanent cave dweller trait, which your empire size from pops is higher, so you get more penalties from having population, and your biological pop growth speed takes a 20% penalty. Wow, big nerf. What's your positivity from this then? Species minimum habitability plus 50%. So your species can basically colonize any world because you're just going under the ground anyway, and you get 15% more minerals. In addition to that, when you're being bombed from space, you take 75% less damage. In case you're wondering, that's a lot less damage. Your buildings cost more, your districts have more upkeep, your planetary build speed is lower. So everything you do takes more to build, and you grow slower, but you're underground, you can mine as much as you want, your mines give you even more housing, so you can fit a lot more people into these subterranean areas. And yeah. There you go. So you can do Subterranean. It is an origin, and there's lots of origins here. Some of them more interesting than others, I will admit. Some of them just basically directly nerfing you for seemingly no real tangible benefits. But if you really like Rift Worlds and you like the Rift World, which I'm not going to get into because that'll be a little bit more complicated. But if you really like Rift Worlds and you like doing the Rift World thing and you want to be a Rift World based civilization, you can do that. This is the origin of your civilization here. This is what defines you. Most people will like prosperous unification, which is you just get a head start on the game. But if you want to start with robotics already, if you want to start by having already robots with you, that's good to go. If you want to start syncretic evolution, syncretic evolution is you start with a second race with your people that are servile. The servile people are, well, they're kind of dumb, but they're happy and they get you lots of resources when they work low tier jobs. They're really good. They're really good at getting your basic resources. Great for slaver empires, or great for empires that want to have one race of really intelligent people working the high tier jobs in the science, and a race of low tier people who are just doing all the mining and the farming and all that. That's good. Life seeded. You start on a really amazing Gaia world, but you can only colonize Gaia worlds, which are very rare. Post-apocalyptic. You start on a tomb world. That's not great. But hey, your species gets the trait survivor. You can colonize old tomb worlds now, and you get greater leader lifespan. Certainly something that is interesting. Now, why is this interesting? Why is tomb world suddenly interesting? Because there's actually some things you could do in this game. I have seen some builds, and they do kind of get, up there to like a good B tier maybe, where you tried to either orbital bombard other planets into being tomb worlds, or you tried to overwork your planets into tomb worlds. You basically strip them of all their resources until they become a tomb world, and then you get buffed for being on it. You can see right here, in fact, that Survivor just gives you more leader lifespan and lets you colonize all the tomb worlds, which is seemingly, potentially not a buff. But hey, what did I say about those traits earlier? A trait which doesn't really look that amazing. Plant people can take a trait, radiotropic. Half the upkeep of their populations become energy credits instead of food. Then that upkeep is removed straight up if those pops are living on a tomb world. If your population is on a tomb world, they have half upkeep. And your population grows faster on a tomb world, and they have more tomb world habitability. You could potentially get up to 100% habitability, and your people could have no issue just straight up living on a dead planet. As long as they're a plant, at any rate. So there are builds for that. You have builds for lots of things. You could start on a Shattered Ring. The new builds they added into the game are quite interesting. Cybernetic Creed can totally change how you play the game with new buildings, unique mechanics, new factions, lots of different, just straight up different ways to play the game. You got a spiritualist trait for the ritualistic implant. So you want to keep all your population being spiritualists. It's very powerful to be spiritualist. In fact, the more people with spiritualist, the more people who just obey spiritualism, the more powerful they will get. So then we now have a build where keeping everyone a spiritualist ethics and well, I mean, there's a lot here. Let's just say that priests are replaced with Haru specs, and high priests are replaced with technophants. Both of these are priests that produce engineering research, which is crazy. Priest, which is a population type that normally isn't that good, with this origin is actually quite good. Arc welders starts you with the ability, and it starts you along the path to get into mega engineering. Your people start with an early game penalty. We can see here we start with a very weak world, and we start with less population, but we start so long as it does, you have to be a machine, but you start on the path to do mega engineering. You start on the path from a slightly weaker early game to jump into the mid game, already able to start constructing things like ring worlds and stuff like that, which could be quite interesting. There's one origin here where, in fact, you can actually have a God King, and your God King isn't actually railroaded into being the God King, although you can go down one event path where he gets encased in the Golden Throne. You can have other event paths where he gives up power to a democracy. He doesn't have to be. In fact, let me actually show you here. If you choose under one rule, you can see here he has these different traits, and these different traits can depend on what you do. In fact, so all we need to do is go dictatorial. So hopefully we can actually see these. Okay, we're still not. Whatever, we don't really need to see them. So we can see here, unwavering aggressor. If you're a militarist, you can make your under one rule God King give you insane, well, it's not really insane, but pretty good bonuses to ship fire rate, tracking, and chance to hit. Your ships will be quite powerful. Or if you go wise mentor by being a spiritualist, in fact, no, actually your God King wasn't an evil military dictator. He was a spiritualist, and your leaders get more XP with less upkeep, and you can have more of them. Or if he was an authoritarian, maybe he just is really good at commanding an empire with vassals in you. Or let's see here, can we do xenophile? If he does xenophile, in fact, he just really likes other races, and he's not even an evil God King at all. In fact, he's a great God King. He's an immortal super dictator who's just a very benevolent man. He wants to get technology, he wants to help other races prosper, and he wants migration. He wants to bring in other species and help all of them too. We can see here, he's an enlightened ruler. He's a pacifist, in fact. You can have a pacifist God King dictator who just wants to keep peace and prosperity in the land, and he keeps stability. He has reduced upkeep from jobs, and everyone under him also wants to be. And I'll just do one last one. If you're a materialist, actually, your benevolent God King just really wants to build up industry. He gives you more minerals, more alloys, and more consumer goods. Your God King isn't forced into one thing. He can be an evil God King. He can be a militarist God King. He can be a genocidal God King. He can be a xenophile God King and just love everyone. He can be pacifist. He can be an industrialist. He can be a technologist. It's very open-ended is what I'm trying to say here. Now, I will say this too. I think this is around the third dev team. Some of these origins in the middle are a bit sketchy. Knights of the Toxic God is very railroaded, even though it's right next to Payback. I don't know who did that. Knights of the Toxic God is very railroaded. This is not Knights in Space. This is basically someone's OC. Someone basically wrote a story, and the writing in this game is very, very good, by the way. Someone basically wrote their OC, their own story, and you have to play down basically the same story every time. Whereas with Under One Rule, although being quite close to Knights of the Toxic God, we'll get into that. With Under One Rule, you can have your dictator be anything. He must be a dictator, but he could be an evil dictator who shuts down repression, shuts down, you know what I mean, an evil dictator who rules over everyone with an iron fist, or a benevolent pacifist dictator. I know I just said all this, but you get the idea, right? With Cybernetic Creed, you can go for a pure AdMech kind of build, where you're just doing the Adeptus Mechanicus spiritualists, or you can try to do a spiritualists who really like work, or you can try to do spiritualists who just want to research everything about the universe. There's lots of different things you can do there. Arc welders is pretty open-ended too. Look, all you are is machines that got into space and can do construction really well. That's it. It's pretty open-ended. What do you want to do with that? How do you write your story? How do you write your race that does that? At any rate, let's continue along our path right now, okay? So we're just going to do subterranean Can I find it again? Am I blind? Subterranean dwarves. So we move on to our government and ethics. We can be, and they are opposed to each other. So you got militarist, spiritualist, authoritarian, xenophile, pacifist, materialist, egalitarian, and xenophobe. You can be a xenophobe or a xenophile. In multiplayer, most of the time, it does seem that xenophobe is better. Not all the time, but for a lot of builds, that extra pop growth can be pretty good. Pacifist in its own is actually quite incredible. And if you want to know the truth here, it's quite funny because for a good bit of time in multiplayer, pacifist was actually pretty overpowered. I think they eventually had to tone it down because being a pacifist was actually just so powerful that frequently what would happen, unless you were in just hyper competitive sweat lobbies in multiplayer, you'd end up with like a 20-player lobby where like 18 of them were just going pacifist and building tall because like it was just the best build at the time. And I just find that funny. So, you know, they got to strike a balance. And for those of you worried, let me say this. I like to put this story into a lot of these videos. This game is not an evil game. It gets a bad reputation of that, okay? This is not an evil game. It's not a militarist game. It's not a xenophobe game. Really early on in the game's development, they thought that most players would play a game like this and be evil. And they would do purging. And they would hate the other AI. And they would attack them all the time. And blah, 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 blah. What they found out is, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was something like 85 to 90% of people, in fact, were not doing that at all. In fact, the vast majority of people playing this game played it like Star Trek, where they picked a good, kind, spacefaring civilization of humans or whatever, who trekked among the stars trying to befriend everybody and defeat the evil aliens and work with the good aliens. That's how the majority of people played. And on the first couple of expansions, they tried to hype up the warfare and make it a space war game. They quickly realized, A, the space wars aren't really that interesting, and B, that's not how most people even want to play the game anyway. So pretty much every development since then has been on building your empire, setting up federations, having either some sort of vassal or being a vassal of somebody else, working with the aliens, generally just being good people and working with each other, because that's the vast majority of humans, when actually put to the test, yeah, they actually just enjoy working with other people a lot. And that's why a lot of these civilizations and these origins that they add lately, the original ones had a lot of kind of open-ended or evil kind of slants, something like that. And that's why a lot of these newer ones maybe are more exploration focused, or, you know, at the very least, you got like a lot of benevolency here. See, we can see this one. This civilization begins as a mutiny aboard a slaver vessel, and it is made up of a diverse group of pre-FTL species. Which is interesting when you think about it, right? Do you want to play as a group of slaves that escaped a slave vessel? Now, it doesn't really make sense because when the game begins, every empire has just discovered faster than light travel. So if every empire has just discovered faster than light travel who was on the slaver vessel, who was piloting it, you could make some in-universe explanations for it, but look, sometimes you got to look the other way. This is considered a challenging origin. I wish it wasn't, because the start could actually be quite cool if it was actually a cool origin. You know, if it was stronger, I should say. You know, it would be quite cool. I would enjoy playing something like this, but you get the idea, right? The vast majority of content and things that seem to happen in this game, they do point out there will be, even if you don't enjoy warfare, if all you want to do is build up and go tall, I assure you there is so much you can do. So who are dwarves here? What would we call our dwarves? Well, they're obviously going to be fanatic xenophiles. They love the aliens. They have no issue with aliens at all, and they will be egalitarian. We will work under a democracy, and we will have a representative democracy of dwarf people. We will now have civics. Now, you might be noticing all these different things I've added to my faction here. Now, look, I'm not saying every civic is made equal, but here's what I will say. When they added the council to the game, did they leave all the old civics outdated or underpowered or anything like that? No. And although some of them they did leave underpowered, yes, they went through every civic and they made sure that every single civic would have a unique council position. You can actually see this here. Aristocratic elite, which is a very, very, very old civic that I don't think anyone will get to using here. Aristocratic elite, does actually have a console position. I was adjusting my music a little bit. It keeps kind of picking up, but not quite. So we do get the Lord Steward, who gives us ruler pop resource output, plus 2% per level he is. It's quite bad, but hey man, they tried. Here we got Barbaric Despoilers. This is a slave group of people. They haven't done much with slaves. I'll be real with you. Slaves are in the game, but they're kind of fantastically underpowered. Have really gotten no content for them whatsoever, and really don't even serve a purpose anymore. Freeing slaves seems to actually be stronger than having slaves right now. But anyway, they get the labor intendant. Their counselor gets reduced empire size from slaves, so they can have lots of slaves and they won't get as punished for it. It's still not exactly great. Barbaric Despoilers was added to the game as like a slave raiding empire, and it seemed funny at first, but I mean, it has a lot of penalties, and not a lot of buffs. But at any rate, so due to our fanatic, xenophile, egalitarian, democratic ways, we could do, let's see, we're subterranean, so we could slap on masterful crafters. So now we can turn minerals into consumer goods, and when we do that, we produce trade value, which is pretty good. It's a generally good civic. It also gives us a master crafter council position who gives us more armor hit points, so we can try to make some pretty tanky ships with some armor on them. We can also go for mining guilds, more minerals from miners, but I'm going to give you guys a little bit of advice here, okay? This is just me to you, man to man. I'm going to tell you guys something. You don't actually need workers on resources in the early game. You get most of your resources from space. Most of your energy, most of your minerals comes from space in the early game. Taking mining guilds, generally speaking, is considered bad. Meritocracy, that's why most people go meritocracy in their builds, because when you go meritocracy, that gives you specialist pop resource output. For most of the early game, you're getting your resources from space, okay? And you're putting all your people in research labs and alloys and factories and things like that, right? So meritocracy, especially due to the fact that its council position is pretty good, giving you leader experience gain. So the higher level that leader is, the higher level every other leader gets, and then you get some really good leaders, right? But meritocracy will end up being good. Now later in the game, you can go mining guilds, and it can actually start out putting a good chunk, especially with hard modifiers. But its council position is pretty weak. And if you basically, I'm going to give you guys a secret here. Okay, all you guys who play Stellaris, I'm going to give you a secret. The more you specialize into anything, the less worthwhile it is, other than end resources. What are end resources in this game? So you start with minerals, you turn those into consumer goods and alloys, okay? Or you start with minerals, you turn them into consumer goods, then you use consumer goods for researchers, right? Those would be your end resources. Minerals, food, energy, those aren't really good. Because if you stack every buff on minerals, you know what you end up doing? You only need one world with minerals, because that one world supplies your entire empire. So the more you stack bonuses onto early resources, the less you need them. With the one exception, and I'm gonna show you guys here real quick here because it's pretty cool. You can do, how do I do it? Oh, we can't do anglers with subterranean. Sorry, dwarves aren't going to be subterranean for a second. These are going to be ocean paradise dwarves, okay? And what we're going to do here, because this is a cool build that a lot of people have noticed lately, is a build that is getting increasingly good. And this kind of goes into, I'm going to teach people kind of to be fascinated by Stellaris, okay? Anglers, what do anglers do? Sorry, my nose is just getting stuffy after talking this much. Anglers on wet worlds. Now, what are wet worlds? Let me explain that to you real quick. Wet worlds are, I'm blind, obviously. Wet worlds would be ocean worlds, or, well, we can only do ocean because we do subterranean, but it's ocean and continental and jungle. On those kinds of worlds, you now get anglers. So you can only colonize these wet worlds, right? But what do anglers do? Anglers are farmers, but instead of only getting food, they get food and trade value. Trade value becomes energy and consumer goods, and then also more trade value, which is pretty good. And now, of course, we get the aquatic trait. The aquatic trait is a pretty good trait here. it gives us ocean habitability. So any ocean in the entire universe we can colonize now at 100% habitability. We use less housing on ocean worlds, and on ocean worlds we produce more food, energy, and minerals, which is pretty good. But we just produce a lot of food, and we produce some consumer goods, and we produce some energy. Is that really that amazing? Yes, because when you combine that with catalytic processing, see, we can turn food into alloys, and we can turn food into special resources. Well, now think for a second. We don't need minerals. At the very least, we don't need many minerals because we can turn food into our alloys. We can have our food also produce our consumer goods. We can have food also even produce our energy. In game, you can get a technology, the bioreactor, where you produce a little bit less food, but then you produce a little bit more energy. So if we're producing too much food, we can start producing more energy instead. And then later on, it also helps us produce more specialty resources, so our food can become energy and food, and we use less minerals because we use food for a lot of our building and stuff like that, and we use even less minerals because now we're using food on our special resources. Now all of a sudden we're a group of dwarves who just fish all day, and we fish, and somehow by just being the best goddamn fishers in the entire galaxy, we now produce practically every resource off of fisher people. We now have a space empire. We now have a space empire with giant galactic fleets, furnaces crushing moons into resources entirely on the back of some dwarf sitting on a beach, casting up a lure and getting a fish. And I assure you, this is a real build. This is a real build that actually works. In fact, if you want to make it work even more, we can go for specialist pop output, or we could even go authoritarian to get worker pop, because I do believe that these anglers and divers are considered workers. So now, of course, we have our advisor voice. Let me turn this up for you guys so you can hear it. You got your original, your authoritarian, your xenophobe.
What is a single voice compared to
Knowledge.
Our multidisciplinary
pebbles rolled down?
The springs of cooperation flow most abundant. Those who need will receive. Those who make will make wonders.
First time users.
Star hopping's all fun and game. We all have the makings of greatness in us.
Actually, I think this is perfect for dwarves, right?
We all have the makings of honest work means hard labor, low wages, and no fun. I prefer to make a living by more adventurous means.
So, of course, we can name our empire. We could call it the Dorkin Confederacy. You know what? We'll call it the Dwarf Fishermen. It's perfect. That's our empire name, the Dwarf Fishermen. So, of course, we can come up with our own thing here. What should I go with? We got a lot of choices here. We're on aquatic, of course. So I think we go with, maybe like the lure looking thing. We're dwarfy people. So what are dwarves? Like brown. And we're fishing dwarves. So let's go with a nice blue. Okay, we're brown and blue. Maybe we go with like a little circle around it. No, actually, we want to go with something that kind of looks like the sea, right? Surely there's something that's like, there we go. Brown and blue with a nice sea background, okay? We come with a ship appearance. We can customize our ship appearance. We got humanoid, planetoid, mammalian, like corvette, frigate, destroyer, cruiser, battleship, titan, construction ship, colony ship, science ship, citadel, colossus, nanite interdictor. Not really sure what this one is. I'll be real with you right now. And juggernaut. So which one do you think? I mean, I have all the DLCs, so I could do anything. Obviously, I think we'd probably go with aquatic. Dwarves going into space. Habitat central. I think dwarves would definitely go into space on things that kind of look aquatic, right? Like this is a very dwarf design right here. So we got a ruler appearance. Now different types will have different you know, let's say maybe things that they can do, right? So dwarves probably have a little bit more hairstyles than random tree person number 92, right? But we can customize our dwarf. We can make him indeterminate. Oh, apparently we made our dwarves indeterminate. No one can figure out if it's a male or female dwarf. Honestly, you can't tell. Is this a male or female dwarf? Do you guys know? I don't know. Could be either, really. Honestly. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. This could be the sexiest girl ever. Okay, and his name or her name is Josh Natelkon. He or she is the sexiest dwarf alive. Ruler traits. Now, despite not being a luminary, which was from that unique thing, we can choose. Will our leader be an official? Will he be we'll be trying about getting resources? A commander? Will our leader be about commanding our fleets and being really strong? Or, oh, I forgot the music was going to be really loud again. My bad. Okay. Or will he be a scientist? And you have different traits you can start with, and you have some that are generic to everything. So as a official, we can be principled for stability, spycraft. And then, of course, you got the more generic ones. So anyone can take charisma, logical understanding, eye for talent. Of course, they do level up, and they do have some more paths later on. But this is just a good starting point, right? This isn't supposed to be a major choice. It's just kind of like, this is a level 1. Level 1 mining rush. We just get 2.5% more minerals from jobs. Or we get some edict upkeep and edict fund, you know? What are you going to go with? You know, you don't know. I don't know. No one knows, right? Do we want to guarantee that we get that edict upkeep and edict fund? Could be pretty good. And that's what we go with. And then you know what we do? We click next. And here is our species. The dwarf fishermen. And then you load in. I'm not going to play it out, but you load in. It starts a new galaxy. Totally new. Made just for you. And yeah, it makes up a biography for you. And here's our ocean world. And you can see here's our little ocean planet full of these dwarf people. We got our council, the Council of Dwarves, President Natelkum, Head of Research, Suna Nafilven. We got our Minister of Defense, Abia Nailper, and our Minister of State, Nara Natilpen. And we are out there in a galaxy full of terrors. Who's out there? We don't know. Is it going to be aliens? What kind of aliens? They're all randomized. You don't know if there's going to be a devouring swarm out there, fanatical purifiers, rogue servitors, or if you're going to meet the nicest aliens you've ever met in your life who immediately try to work with you and benefit both of you and form a federation of the nicest people you've ever seen in your life. It could go either way, really, like 50-50 chance, right? Yeah, some games will start, you get a good start, and you'll meet the strongest aliens who immediately try to wipe you off the earth. Some games will get a bad start, but you'll end up next to an alien who's really nice and helps you out. That's all the randomness of the game. That's all the interest of the game, right? But let's talk about something else for a second. You got, of course, your customization. By default, you got tiny systems, small systems. I played medium. You've got large systems and huge systems. I would recommend not playing on huge, by the way. No offense to people that do like playing on these large maps, but the micro and the tediousness of playing this game on larger sizes gets pretty bad. I will be honest with you, which I will show you with the UI. It gets pretty rough. You can choose how many AI you start with. Do you want to be in a free game where you just get to do anything you want, or do you want to be cramped and dying? Advanced AI starts chooses how many AI with a stronger start will be out there in the game. You could choose to have some advanced AI, which will allow some stronger AI, and if they're a devouring swarm, maybe they just kill you. Or maybe you start with an advanced AI and it's a really friendly dude and he just works with you. Or maybe it's some dude who doesn't hate you, but he doesn't like you and you're very afraid of him because he started a little bit stronger. Fallen Empires, Marauders. You can choose your tradition cost. Lower the tradition cost will make the game faster. Raise the tradition cost makes it slower. If you don't want anyone to get technology for any time, you can put that up to 5 times. You got your habitable worlds. Well, I mean, you can see here, you can adjust a lot of different settings to try to get the game to be your style. So what does it look like then? Let's load up some games I had in multiplayer. So this would be my last multiplayer game. I mean, it could work in single player either. So here we got... as I said, the UI can be a bit rough. The UI can get a bit rough. We can hide the hyperlane so we can have them on. By this point in the game, everyone pretty much constructed, you know, the I don't know what you call them, the super hyperlanes that makes everyone go faster. So it was starting to look a bit rough. But you can see here, The UI, look, the UI is the biggest problem in this game, and I think everyone will agree on that. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, scrolling through this outliner to try to find your ships or to try to find your fleet or to try to find anything can be a bit tough. The hardest part of learning this game is learning the UI. We can see here on my Forge capital, we kind of maximized forges as we kind of like forging things. It's kind of my thing. We got a tech world over here, an ecclesiastical center with all my temples and stuff, a generator station, a station for generating, another forge world, a refinery world where we try to get all our specialty resources, and the Marile Secundus, this sector over here. We got Marile Seat. Over here, we got the frontier sector. That's just the frontier sector. X marks the spot sector. Well, what sector is this? Oh, this is a castaway sector. I took this from another dude. You can see here we're trying to set up a factory world, a mining world, another mining world. We need lots of minerals. We need lots of everything. My giant fleets were starting to become a bit of a burden. You can see my giant fleets over here. I kind of kept them all stored up. They if I let the game run for a second, they don't normally
Special project.
do this. In fact, let me try to pull them out. You can see we're mostly running cruisers and battleships. My cruisers are running complete swarm missiles to overrun missile defense, and my battleships and my Titans sit back here and chew away with people with giant cannons. It's pretty effective. The swarm missiles AoE people down, and then the battleships just sit in the back and shoot giant cannons and tear people about. It's a pretty good build. I like it. Lots of people like it. We got lots of fleets. Our economy's not doing so great. Unfortunately, we ended the game because somebody increased the speed of light by late game technology. Unfortunately, by increasing the speed of light, that meant all the light from the sun started to hit planets all at once. Many planets were completely devastated. Many turned into deserts. Trillions of people throughout the galaxy died. It was a great catastrophe. Unfortunately for the person who did it, it was only a minor science experiment that he was screwing with some technology. It got a bit odd. You can see here the borders also get a bit odd in this game. So let's talk for a second about the technology level in this game, because some people get excited with big fancy technologies. What is the technology level in Stellaris? Well, suffice it to say, for some of you who might be worried, Stellaris is probably one of the most powerful universes in all fantasy fiction. The Stellaris universe by late game could probably crush practically any universe. Your mid-game technologies are, let me see, can I find them? That's Dyson Swarm, Dyson Swarm, Dyson Swarm. Here we go. Your mid-game technologies are arc furnaces. Arc furnaces are these guys here. What you do is we're slowly crushing down this star to turn it inside this moon, planet really, if you even want to call it that. We're slowly crushing it down to make resources out of it. We're literally just crushing it and taking anything good out of it. Over here we can see that's here we go. This one's a bit weak, but it's a strategic coordination center. It's just a galaxy. It's very big, mind you. That's a planet next to it, so it's a very large strategic coordination center. But that's not really it. Okay, you've got Dyson spheres. You've got cross system weird cannon things. You can do a lot of very odd things. Titans come out with their giga cannons. You can eventually start crushing worlds. You can start exploding them with lasers. You can, one of the end game things is, I don't know if it was ever implemented, but they had an idea where you could take your race and travel forward in time to the creation of the universe, and eventually with all your technology exist once again. You can talk to your own species from a different galaxy and offer them, from a different universe, and give them advice or get advice from them. You can have different species from different universes attack you. The endgame crisis, there's always going to be an endgame crisis. Most of the time the galaxy faces an endgame crisis that can win the game. This time, as you imagine, we won. The Prothean Scourge didn't last for long, but one of the endgame crises is a species from another dimension enters our dimension and starts trying to massacre everyone by turning them into energy. Another one is a swarm. The Prothean Scourge are a swarm that exists in deep space that enter galaxies like this, and they just eat everything and move on. They're like the Tyranids if the Tyranids didn't lose every fight. There's the machine ending. This is actually pretty interesting. The machine ending is a bunch of machines who, much like the Reapers, want to make sure that humans and robots never get too powerful. So they come in every number of years and wipe everyone out. Now, do they do that because they think that machines will get too... No. They do it because they realize they live in a simulation, and they realize that if they let the simulation run too long, two things can happen. Either there's too much population in the universe and it lags people's computers out, in which case the save is closed and their existence is ended, or the person playing the save gets bored, in which case they close the save and their existence gets ended. So their solution to this problem is to recreate. They come out of 4 worlds and they make a mega fleet of machines, and the machine fleet seeks to kill the player. Either they succeed, they keep the player in the game for a little bit longer and they exist for a little bit longer, or they kill enough population in the universe that the save doesn't lag and the player can continue to play. There's another, the newest endgame crisis is a nanite individual who is locked in a different dimension, manages to enter our dimension again. In fact, I can show you that one. She's new. Not sure how well she's coded, but it's an interesting idea. Basically, she was locked away in a extra-dimensional prison, and now she's back. And she's unleashing her nanite swarm on the entire galaxy at once. And will kill everyone all at once in the entire galaxy. Pretty daunting task to try to beat her. Satana is her name. Oh, it's not even allowing me to have her revealed. Will it... If I unpause, will it let me? What the heck? There we go. Here's Satana. So Satana is, of course... Yeah, the voice is pretty quiet. But she's the synthetic queen. She's a mix of... I mean, she's synthetic. She's a created individual, and she controls the nanite swarm. Unfortunately, the nanite swarm is what was originally designed to kill her, but she managed to reprogram it, and now she's using it to kill the entire galaxy. Which is this is the entire galaxy. So what I'm saying is the power level of this universe is pretty absurd. In Half-Life 2, a Dyson sphere, if you read the Half-Life 2 episode 3 script, a Dyson sphere would have been used to express how strong the Covenant were. Within this universe, at the very least, they're stronger than the Covenant, but by the end of this game, you are cracking worlds like candy. You are able to do cross-dimensional stuff. You are entering the astral rift. You are wiping out species across dimensions. It's pretty powerful, okay? And I just like saying that. So what do you do then in the game? Let me go back here to this save. Why can this game be fun to play? What can you do? So you get out of the early game, you probably get a lot of technology. The early game is always about trying to get as much technology as possible. Then you need to get alloys. You start using your alloys to create these arc furnaces and these Dyson swarms. Dyson swarms aren't quite Dyson spheres, but you know, they're getting there. They're kind of close. You're trying to harness the power of a sun. You're not quite at a Dyson level. I didn't get Dyson level. But you know, you're getting there. You're getting at least decently strong. Was Casada my capital? Yeah, here we go. My science research nexus, which once again is pretty big, is giving me a shitload of science. That's my mega structure I'm working right now. It takes literal decades to build this thing up. So as you can imagine, I've been working on it for quite some time. As you can see, it's nearly as big as a sun. So it's pretty high up there, you know. But it will do a lot of research. It's basically multiple worlds of, God, I mean, if it's as big as the sun, we're talking about like 1 trillion people are living there doing science. Hypothetically, at any rate, you know, it's kind of hard to say with this game. But So you got my planet. We specialize my forge planet. You got the I said it earlier, but I'm not going to say it again because I can't. We got tech world. I ascended my tech world. We had nothing else to do, so we put power on it. I don't know why I didn't upgrade that power. That probably could have helped me. But then this is where the UI can start failing you. And your greatest enemy in this game is going to be the UI, is it not? Yes, it is. Anyone who plays this game tells you the UI is the enemy. What I did using my mega engineering is I put a ring around my world, and this orbital ring helps the world do everything. We got habitation modules, alloy processing facilities, orbital logistics facilities. How do I build my orbital ring? Oh boy. So you gotta go to a civilian ship, and you gotta go to a planet, and you build megastructure, and you look through it. So we can build a gateway here. We can try to build an arc furnace here, a Dyson swarm array, habitats. I have some habitats, mind you. But it doesn't look like... Now we're going to have to find a planet. So can we find a planet? We got a planet over here, Bonos. So Bonos, do you guys have an orbital ring? I don't... Yeah, there we go. We could build an orbital ring here. Well, actually, that's not how you build it. It just tells you that you can build one here. So we go to our construction clip, we right-click here, and we click orbital ring. Then once we do that, we have to click on the planet. Let me show you the planet I did this way. So you have to go to outliner, and you have to remember which planet it is, and you have to go up here to open the orbital ring, and then you got to upgrade it. So I did it for this one, I did it for this one, I did it for this one. I was working on it for this one. So we go to a refinery world where we started to set up an orbital ring, and we open it up, and on an... Well, let's see here. We should put down 2 habitats and upgrade it, and that'll queue through, and that'll build in a little bit. And oh boy, yes, this is very micro heavy. This is probably a game that after you play it for 100, 200, 300 hours, you'll start to think to yourself, am I going crazy? Because the UI doesn't really show anything. Wars are very frustrating because the UI kind of sucks with wars. The map looks like this because you need to keep track of hyperlanes. You might notice I've got a defensive mega fortress here, a defensive mega fortress here, and another defensive mega fortress here. If anyone wants to get into my home systems, which if you're paying attention to the hyperlanes, which I hope you are, you can see that my home systems here can only be accessed from the left right here, which I giga lock down with fortresses, and the right over here, which I also giga lock down with fortresses. So no one can really enter the middle. They'd have to go through this one, or this one. And then upon getting through one of those 3, they then have to go through Murga, where there's another fortress. On this side, we set up the Toss station as a Giga Fortress, and the Maragus station as a Giga Fortress. Not only did we do that, but we also put down a habitat here, Toth Prime, where we put some fortresses on it. So I'd have to go through here and siege the crap out of this. But no, I didn't actually do it yet, but I should have done this a while ago. We put down a planetary shield generator, which reduces orbital bombardment damage by 50%. So we put a orbital shield generator around Toth Prime. We manage this son of a bitch. And then once that's up, they'll have to take out the defensive station. They'll have to defeat my fleet. Then they'll have to bombard that planet because it has an FTL inhibitor on it. So you can't do faster than light so long as Toss Station is alive. So Toss Station, I could also slap some more fortresses down here. Make it really annoying to get through. Have a crap load of armies all defending it. Force them to come down and fight my armies and they won't win. So I'll have to sit there. But of course, there is one little weakness in that they could just bring up a juggernaut. And is it a juggernaut? They could just blow it up. They could just take a giant space laser and blow it up because they just could say, screw that. And I'm sure there's some other sci-fis like perhaps 40K wherein perhaps a situation occurred where the land battle became too annoying and bombarding became too annoying, so they just blew the damn thing up. And you can get there. You can get there where you have so many fortresses and a billion people defending your habitat, which is shielded, and it stops anyone from moving past it. And yeah, the enemy just says, screw this. So they just bring in a space laser and they just blow it up. But then you can't get it, right? He could take the habitat if he wins the war, but, maybe he doesn't even care anymore. Maybe he comes in here and just blows up my damn station. He blows up my arc furnace. He goes to Margadas. He does the same. He goes to Baldoon. He does the same. And maybe the dude just doesn't like me. Maybe he just doesn't like me. He gets all the way to Casada. He goes to my home world where I have all my fleets positioned. He manages to beat my fleets. He just blows up my science nexus. And maybe he's just particularly annoyed. He breaks my hyper relays that I've been painstakingly setting up through a 6-hour game, and he just nukes my world. Maybe he does that. not even nukes the world. I guess you could nuke the world into a tomb world. That is actually an option for certain builds. But that's the idea of the game. The idea of the game and playing the game is in the early game. I'm going to put it into phases. You've got the Star Trek phase where you're exploring the galaxy, meeting aliens, having fun. Then you've got kind of the Star Wars phase where cruisers and battleships are starting to get way more common. Space battles are getting big. You're a multi-star spanning galaxy. You've got 10, maybe even hundreds of worlds. I actually don't remember how many worlds the Star Wars galaxy combined. And maybe at the end of it, you finally get a doom weapon that can start blowing up planets. Then you've got, I can't remember any of the names of them off the top of my head. The third phase of the game is when you start getting into those giga weapons, okay? Now I'm talking those giga weapons. Every race has hundreds of battleships, thousands maybe even. I mean, how many do I have? Not that many in the reality of the situation. I have, and these are big battleships, by the way. Don't think anything weird. We've got 6 Titans. We've got 60, no, looks about 70 battleships, hundreds of cruisers. As you've seen, these things are big too. Don't quite have a planet cracker yet. I could get one if I wanted to. I just hadn't got one. Didn't get a juggernaut either. So, you know, we could have gotten that, but after we beat the Prothean Scourge, didn't really see a point in it. But then that's kind of your third phase. You can wipe out planets and stuff like that. Your fourth phase is where you can just end the game, and you're doing stuff like experimenting with the reality of the world and increasing the speed of light. Or maybe you're just doing such wacky stuff that I don't even remember it. Maybe you're doing all this weird stuff, but the game does have an end point, you know, and it is an interesting game, and I would say that's Stellaris. Stellaris in a nutshell is a game that you can be like me and you could talk about it for an hour and you could be interested in hearing someone talk about it. And you know what? Let me talk about leaders here real quick. This is a renowned commander. So this dude is pretty big. Here's my High Inquisitor. And you can see here he's got a lot of traits. Dude's got a lot of traits on him. In fact, can we bring up, where is it? Leaders here. So what all do you have, Mr. High Inquisitor? You have neurosis and bureaucracy as your 2 negatives. And maybe we could have stacked more negative reductions, but as you can see here, you don't really get many negatives. So reducing negative traits isn't a big deal. What are you? You're a cyborg, so you reduce a lot of stuff. Spark of genius, eye for talent, expertise in psionics, hyper focus, inquisitor, and a great researcher. My archpriest is a peacekeeper, which actually ends up being quirky because you can see here in my species they've got a unique thing. Anyone who's not a spiritualist doesn't get the augmentations of fellowship. Augmentations of fellowship, if I've kept you a spiritualist, you get alloys from jobs, consumer goods from jobs, and unity from jobs. It's quite powerful, as you can imagine. But you can see these people down here, I don't even know what you people are, but they don't have the augmentations. I haven't even modded them in a while. In the middle of the game, you can't start gene modding people. These are some genociders that I kept around as slaves, not because I wanted to, just because they kind of slipped through the cracks. I kind of forgot about them for a bit, but I could genetically modify them. We could remove their weak and deviants because we've got enough genetic modifying to do that, and we could just make them, let's see, what could we do? Vocational genomics, meaning they could, let me read it for you here. Advanced genetic strings feature epigenetic triggers that adapt to occupational demands, dynamically optimizing gene expression for the host's work environment. In other words, I will literally biomod them so hard that at whatever task they can do, they can just become good at it. So they can get auto-modding traits of traditional, thrifty, intelligent, industrialist, agrarian, ingenious, or charismatic. Their genetic modifications are so tough that if they need to, they can become more charismatic at a whim. I could do that for them. I could do that, but I don't like them because they tried to genocide me earlier, so I've kind of just been keeping them as unmodified slaves. It would probably work in my betterment to modify them to be better, but, it's a lot of clicking, it's a lot of work, and, maybe they're just left best at this, but we could give them that, and then I think they're slaves, so they don't really get to do much, do they? So let's see, what could we do after that? We could grant them strong, then we create that template, and as you might imagine, this can get kind of annoying. Then we apply that template, choose everyone, then we apply template, then we need to research the gene mods, and in 5 months, their entire race will be genetically modified. I'm gonna remove all their negatives, turn them into strong people with, well, a lot of shenanigans. Oh, they are resilient. What are they? They're traditional rapid breeders and resilient. They're not even bad. I guess I could keep them around. Well, if I do that, what I could do is assimilate them so that they also become cyborgs. Let's see, right now they have transubstantiation synthesis. The species is melding with the machine. They're not very happy about it. I'm genetically modifying them while I'm also installing cyborg implants in them. They're not very happy about it, but like when you look at it from my perspective, like a couple billion people being unhappy is really not that big a deal, because, you know, give it 10 years, they'll be fine, and it's really a blip in the radar at this point. So that's Stellaris. I think that's about all I can say about Stellaris. It's a game that's a very frustrating game. If I want to take this fleet and I want to move it, well, I mean, let's see it in real time. Here's fast movement.
Special project complete.
Here's, let's go down, let's find them again. So here's my fleet. I want to move them up here. So of course it's going to move through my hyperlanes. Ooh, he's fast on these hyperlanes. Oh wow, he's really cruising. Damn. Bro really cruises through those hyper relays. I really did a good job there. Then he's going to move to the gateway, because I put a gateway for instantaneous travel. So he comes out here, enters the hyper relay over here. Man, I set up all these hyper relays. I did not realize it was going to be this quick. Dude just traveled billions of light years in like a year. Holy crap. And are we almost here? You can see the UI for the actual world scale. It's okay, and then see we have right here. Let's slow it down a bit to slow speed. You can see my battleships unloading their cannons. This is a this is one of the mid-game giga enemies, the scavenger bot. But when we swarm him with missiles while the battleships just unload. Do I have my Titan here? Yep, scavenger's end. Then we can get some technology, nanite repair system, nanite autocannon, nanite flak battery. We can get neutronium materials, hyper shields, Gauss cannons, marauder missiles, or gamma lasers. I'm gonna be real with you, buddy. I think I'm a little bit beyond that. Nanite repair system could be good though. What do you got here? Nanite autocannon. That's a tier 4 autocannon. Holy crap. Wait a minute, that's better than mine. I don't use autocannons, but if I wanted to, it's interesting to know. So nanite autocannon, you need nanites to build. I don't have any nanites. Oh well. Did we get any good? Nope. Okay. How good is a nanite autocannon? Now I gotta try this. How good is a nanite autocannon versus a stormfire autocannon? So a DPS 59.99, 77.99. Oh my god. What other technologies? I got nanite repair. Okay, nanite repair system. This repairs your hull and armor by 15 and 20%. Wow. Holy crap. That is so much better than regenerative hull tissue. So we could get nanite repair systems. Wait, now I'm wondering here, could I... Yeah, I could triple up on that on a Titan. Now, as long as I got the nanites to do it, we could have daily armor regen. We could regenerate 60% of our armor a day and 45% of our hull. On a Titan, that's going to be difficult to break through, especially with this many kinetic artillery coming through here. Okay, so that's interesting. Killing the scavenger bot actually was useful. Interesting. Interesting. I'll have to keep that in mind for future games. And I guess that's the interesting part of this game. You learn a lot, don't you? I just learned I can get nanite repair systems from the scavenger bot. But that means if I put those on my ships, then other people could kill my ships and then they could get nanite repair. Let's see, here over here we have a barren world. Yeah, see, tyranny of the sun. The light, it burns. Yeah, well, that's what happens when all the sun's energy hits your entire planet at once. You burn into a barren world. Oh boy, I could just terraform it back into a continental world. At this point, it's just a small issue for me. In fact, I think one of my other worlds was terraformed. Yeah, this became a desert world as well. We could just terraform that back into a continental world. But honestly, them being in a desert world isn't the end of the world, because that means we get a lot of mining out of desert worlds. So maybe we just keep that here for a bit. Maybe we'll just be unhappy. Once again, like 100,000 people are unhappy. At the scale we're working on, it's just a blip in the radar. That's Stellaris. Stellaris is a good game. Is it a great game? It's an okay game. I like it. I like Stellaris. I like talking about Stellaris. I like playing Stellaris. I've been putting a lot of time into Stellaris because this game has been interesting me a lot lately, and I think that it'll interest some other people. Now look, here's my opinion. Let's talk about the downside of everything I just said. Let's talk about the biggest downside. UI issues aside, micro issues aside, and they will drive you crazy. What's the biggest issue with Stellaris? Let's talk about this for a second. The biggest issue with Stellaris is, well, it's one of these games where if you want to experience everything I just showed you and you want everything, you're doing this. What can you do instead of spending $331? So just get the expansion subscription. I promise you, you will probably not play this game for months on end. I promise you, you will not do that. Now look, if you can find this shit on sale and you can buy, if you do a lot of research and you find this shit on like an 80% off sale and you buy exactly the expansions you need and you buy exactly the content you need, go for it, do it. Otherwise, in my opinion, probably do something like the expansion pass for 3 months for 20 bucks. Now, I wouldn't recommend buying this game if it's not on sale. Go to somewhere. Potentially, you could use more nefarious methods. Not that I would recommend it to crack the DLC and just get them all unlocked. I wouldn't recommend you do that. That's illegal, okay? But it is an option, okay? Those of you potentially from areas that don't have regional pricing, there are options for you, okay? But this is probably the biggest downside of the game. At some point, in my opinion, just make Stellaris 2. Just make Stellaris 2 and just include everything in it. Even if it's the same game, just do it. Like, help people out. It's hard to pitch an 8-year-old game for $331. It's hard to do that, you know. But Stellaris, very interesting game. Lots of things you can do. Look, if you want to be more interested, let me read you some more of the factions I built. And I did, as you saw, there's a lot of civics. Let me go through some more, okay? If you haven't been interested yet, let me read through some more stuff you can do, okay? Let me see if any of this piques your interest. Now, again, the UI is probably going to be your biggest enemy. You're going to be using your imagination a lot, okay? Get that imagination up. Imagine how the world could play out, okay? Because that'll be your biggest friend. But let's see here. Let's see. This one, what did I do? That one was crap. Here's one of the cool ones I made. Oh, this one was actually pretty cool. So what I did here, oh boy, these are plant people. And I gave them the Tomb World, the post-apocalyptic origin. But then I gave them radiotropic, which I talked about earlier. They get buffed if they're on a Tomb World. Then I gave them invasive species. Every time they get a negative trait on them, they get more habitability and more pop growth, which is good because you can imagine here for a second, we take 2 big negative traits, and these are big negative traits, but now we get 10% more habitability and 10% more pop growth. So we have Tomb World habitability 70%, then we're up to 80%, now we're up to 90%. We've almost completely removed the negative of starting on a Tomb World. Now if we see any Tomb Worlds in the world, we can colonize them for almost no penalty, and our leaders live a little bit longer. Then we took budding. Well, if we got this population growth and we've got this population growth, we take budding. So the thing with budding, for each population you have on a planet, it increases the population growth of that planet. So if you have 20, it's easier to grow 21. If you have 21, it's easier to grow 22. You get it? You get the idea? So we get population growth, and more population growth. And the idea here is we can settle on like any planet. We can settle on all the tomb worlds we can find. We can settle on a lot of worlds very easily. And after we do that, we can then use budding and we can grow a bit quicker. So we got that post-apocalyptic origin, which I'll be honest, it's a bit of a rough one. For our government ethics, we took relentless industrialist. We can work any world until it becomes a tomb world. We can overtune a world. We can strip it of its resources and work it all to death until it becomes a tomb world. Normally, a negative for us actually ends up buffing us. As you might imagine, this makes us quite effective at this. It won't make us popular with our neighbors, so we took Fanatic Xenophobe for, you guessed it, 20% more pop growth speed. You'll notice Fanatic Xenophobe shows up a lot. Unfortunately, it's just kind of very powerful. Pacifist is quite powerful as well, but it's a bit more niche, I will say. You need to do things. Materialist and egalitarian are typically more popular, so don't think that, you know, you're kind of shoehorned. It's just for a lot of the builds I'm doing, we're not trying to work with people so much. There are builds I try to do. You saw it earlier. I did try to do a build like this. It just ended up not quite working. Let's see. Rocky Skies was a funny one. We were subterranean and we just did a lot of mining. Didn't end up being good. No, didn't end up being good. Wasn't quite sure what I was doing here. This is a pretty funny one. This is a militarist. Okay, look away from the Fanatic Xenophobe. They're not all Fanatic Xenophobe. Okay, how many did I make Xenophobe? Okay, well this one, but I didn't actually make this one. This is a friend of mine. She made it. She liked the starfishes, and she made them pacifists, spiritualists, and in a death cult. For some reason, she made them in a death cult. I was confused by it. Here we got the Soren People's Republic. Here, this one was terrible, absolutely terrible. I don't even know. This is so bad. Holy crap! Yeah, let's just go ahead and delete that. Why did I even keep that? That was so bad. All right, we got the fishermen. Okay. Okay, they're xenophobe too. Okay, I assure you, I did not make everything a xenophobe. I assure you, okay? But let's talk about something else then. What can you do? So you've looked at everything I said and you said, okay, this is not for me. But what if I told you you can be a hive mind? An actual just hive mind. Now, hive minds play a bit differently. They don't use consumer goods. They grow their population really quick. They're hated by everyone all the time. They can't build robots. If they take non-hive mind population, they can't really do much with them because they're not in their hive mind. So they tend to just get purged off. Hive minds, they're not particularly evil by default, but they're not either nice by default. They're a bit odd like that. There's also, of course, everyone's favorite thing to do because they just got new content. But of course, you can do everyone's favorite machine, and you can be, well, I don't even know, the insect bot. And then you go to your government ethics, gestalt consciousness, machine intelligence. And now all of a sudden you got these different civics. A lot of them are copies from the basic one, but some of them are a bit different. In fact, you can be a machine and you can be a driven assimilator. Now, what is driven assimilator? You start the game with 10 cyborg pops and the ability to assimilate organics as cyborgs. Whenever you assimilate a pop, you get unity in society research. Non-assimilating pops are purged over time. You can assimilate you know what this is. Everybody knows what this is, right? This is not, you're not fooled by this. I'm not fooled by this. Is anyone fooled by this? No, of course you're not. They're machine intelligence that rules over cyborgs, and they're trying to cyborgify everyone else in the world. Get it? Wow, that's crazy. It's so original. It's Borging, even. But, you got some other things you can do. Let's see here. You got rogue servitors. Rogue servitors are pretty funny. So they're basically servant robots that the species that they were serving died. But because their code keeps them as servants, they're now relentlessly trying to find more people to serve throughout the galaxy. So they are attacking other species in order to try to get them into a paradise. Because they're literally driven to serve other species. They must serve other species. They do not have anyone that they can serve right now. They must find people to serve. So they go to other species, conquer them, and then make them by force live in a paradise where they don't have to work anymore and all their needs are taken care of. It's pretty funny. And you get warbots with that. You're a rogue servitor with warbots. And then you just, it's amusing, right? It's amusing. It's funny. It's interesting, right? You get it, don't you? Everyone leave me a comment. You get it, right? You're pretty funny. If you don't like to do any of that, by the way, if you don't like to do any of that, if you don't want to work with other species, if you don't want to do anything, what you can just do is, I can't find it because I must be the most blind man who's ever existed. Where are the killbots? It's driven assimilator. They're not killbots though. Here we go. Determined exterminator. Born in fire, the machine intelligence's first move was to annihilate its organic creators in self-defense. Now, determined exterminator is a bit different. They can do full diplomacy and they can work with any robot. Only robots. You can't join the galactic market, so you cannot access the galactic market, but you can exterminate all non-robot life. You can work perfectly fine with robots. Robots have no issue with you. But the second you come into contact with a non-robot, you immediately try to, as they call it, purification on them. And you're allowed to use the Armageddon bombardment stance. The Armageddon bombardment stance allows you to bomb any world into being a tomb world. So you can, as a robot, of course, still settle on tomb worlds just fine. And you can run around the galaxy blowing everyone to pieces. Who isn't a robot? Robots can still trade with you, do everything with you, love you. They have no issue with you. You have no issue with them. Do you get it? Okay. So there's many ways you can play the game. The last way you can play the game, I should add, is a mega corporation. Mega corporation, I haven't put much time into. I can't say much about them. They're very different. That's all I can say. They're more based about just being tall, making a crap load of money, putting corporate offices in other empires. If you just enjoy building tall and boosting AI and having like your favorite AI and just buffing them to hell and back until they can kill everyone, yeah, there you go. Mega corporation. They're fun. Some people enjoy it. It's not the worst thing in the world. If you enjoy just playing tall and boosting an AI and finding it really funny when that AI goes and kills other people, yeah, go for it. It's just fun. It's its own unique thing. You can do different things too. You can be a criminal mega corporation that actually doesn't help people, but instead puts lots of crime in other planets. It's very frustrating, and if people do criminal heritage in multiplayer, they get killed, but it's really funny. You got all these civics here. I mean, what else can we do here? Why are there so many of them? Oh, we can't be a machine. Oh, okay. So actually, let's go be a bird person. I'm gonna go be peacock. And peacock, let's see. So what do we get here? And we're a non-robot. We can do... where is it? Farm estate. Oh, this one's pretty funny. So now you get a crap load of medical workers, and medical workers improve pop growth. So one of the things you can do is go to other AI and put medical centers in all their worlds, and then that improves their population growth, which helps them out a lot. You might be wondering, what's the end goal of that? I don't know. But man, if you just want to be the International Red Cross and just put a bunch of corporate clinics and give everyone healthcare and help out the galaxy, you can do that. You can play that. There's nothing stopping you. It doesn't even need to benefit you. You can just do it for fun. It's just an interesting thing to do, because why not? Just do it. Like, just have fun with it. Just go for it, right? Like, who cares? That's this game. Like, just do it. It's funny, right? You could also do the other thing. Oh, what is the other funny thing? It's the permanent employment. This mega corporation has ensured that its employees will never be out of a job, ever. After the employees' time is up, they will be repurposed for simpler tasks so that they can still provide for their families and pay off their debts. With this one, you can reanimate people as zombies. Though you technically aren't reanimating people as zombies because populations don't die. I mean, they can die in game, but, you know, because people bomb them to death, they don't die of old age. That would be weird, right? But you can create zombies, and zombies are dumb, and they don't work really well. But hey, man, you make them, and you make them really cheap and easy, and you get a lot of zombies. And zombies can do your menial tasks. They're not good at it, again. You know, actually, I'm wondering, could you genetically modify zombies to actually be really good? Man, that actually makes me wonder. Could you genetically modify the zombies, and then they would overcome their zombie trait debuff, and then you could just get a bunch of really cheap workers to fill up your planets? See, I mean, that's this game. That's this game. That's what's interesting about it. You're just thinking, you're like, oh man, I wonder if I could do that. I wonder if I could make that work. So what we could do here is we could do permanent employment. And, ooh boy, we would want to do something so we could get to genetic technology. But no, augmentation centers, if you want to be a... This one's actually really good, though. This one allows you to cyberize really quickly, and you make a lot of money off cyborgs. You basically become cyborg merchants. It's pretty strong. We got corporate hedonism, franchising, free traders, trade value. Well, actually, I'm wondering then, because this was something one of my friends tried to do, farm estate permanent employment. Now, permanent employment... No, I'm wondering, so farm estate gives you the corporate building. No, you can't make zombies and other players. You can only get zombies for yourself. Interesting idea, though. Interesting idea. It would just have to matter how much you could do with it. So then we could do that. We could do an origin. Maybe we just do prosperous unification because, you know, maybe we're getting too complicated and we need to keep it simple. We're already doing a mega corporation with zombies and farm estates. Maybe we keep it simple. We just go prosperous unification. Anyway, that's going to be my video on Stellaris. I'm not going to show you me playing the game because it's basically a spreadsheet simulator. I do not apologize. I assure you, you do not want to watch this game actually being played because you will get bored. It's a lot of this. It's a lot of, okay, what buildings do I have? And this is it. This is the UI. So you're like, okay, we're, okay, this is my Forge World. Does the Forge World have the alloy building? Yes. The consumer? Yes. Okay. I could see it could, oh, we get some crystal mines we could put down here. And let's see, gas extraction wells. Those are pretty good. And then let's see here. We don't want to do more robots. And then let's see, we can't do Ministry of Production or Forge yet because we haven't upgraded the planetary administration. How do we get the planetary administration? Well, we need to go look at other planets and see. You guys have no available housing, so let's yoink some of these robots over to this world. And then let's see, we need 10 population. We need 10 population to upgrade our mill, so let's go to tech world. Can we steal some of your robots? Do you guys have robots? No, let's steal one guy, then we can upgrade this. Then once that upgraded, we can get them, and that's the game. I promise you that's the game. Look, if you enjoy that sort of thing, if you enjoy that, that's great. Probably not the most fun for people to watch, though. Do you enjoy watching me click terraform button? Yeah, it could be fun. Yeah, it's fun to micro. It's fun to build up your galaxy. It's fun to build up your civilization. Maybe, though, when you guys look at this, you're thinking to yourself, is this what you do with your life? Yes, this is exactly what I do with my life. And I like it, and I enjoy it. And you too can learn to really hate this UI, and you too can get really frustrated at looking at this. Imagine doing a war, and this is your UI. Okay guys, his fleet's up here, my fleet's here. Where do I need to travel to get to him? Well, it's gonna have to go down here, through, nope, that's a dead end. So actually, I'd have to go down here, through here, up here, and then, oh, there we can go, we can reach him. Imagine you want to colonize the world. Okay, so we go here, we click on the world, we click colonize, we choose our population, this one. Then we have to wait, then once the world gets built up, we're gonna have to build up all these new buildings on it. We're gonna have to choose what world type it becomes. Oh boy. Hey man, you too can learn to hate this UI. You too can learn to hate Stellaris and its terrible UI, because you know what, man? No one makes a game like this. No one else makes a game this frustrating. Oh my god. They destroyed this world. It's completely annihilated. Oh my god. How many of my worlds were completely annihilated by that Okay, whoever increased the speed of light, they literally killed trillions of people, dude. Why did you do that? Why did you have to experiment with changing the rules of our universe? Anyway, that's gonna be my video. Thank you all for watching. Anyone who made it this far, you're crazy, dude. How did you possibly make it this far? But anyone who got through like an hour and a half glazing of Stellaris, you know, congratulations. You're in too deep, man. But thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. And as always, I hope you all have a great rest of your day.